Welcome to my bewitching podcast, where I take you on a journey to initiate you into the mysteries and pleasures of all things magical and more. I'm Julie Nelson, Rich Witch, botanical perfumer, astrologer, and creator of the Fragrant Oracle. I'll discuss a myriad of topics passionately on women rising unapologetically, witchcraft, including spells, rituals, insightful astrology updates, and oracle card readings. I'll also introduce you to special guests who share their bountiful knowledge and experience in the art of witchcraft, the intuitive and healing arts, and being wildly unapologetic. Greetings, everybody. This is Julie Nelson, and we are back again. And I guess this is really the the second season. And I'm here with Priestess Alissandra Moon again, because we're both very passionate about similar topics and love our craft, and both work passionately within it. And I'll get Alessandra to say hello in a minute and perhaps share her ideas around this. But our topic today, our conversation today, which we are, and I know so many of you are incredibly passionate about, is taking care and protecting our Mother Earth and her creatures. And let's face it, there is a lot of shit going down with our beautiful planet. And one of the biggest things I notice is that our pollies and government around the world are so focused on war and armaments and, potentially looking for another planet to live on or relocate for some of them. Who knows what they're up to? Instead of taking care of what we have here now and working together to create a thriving planet of people and creatures. And I'm not sure how many of you are aware, and it just devastates me every time I say this or think about it, that Australia is leading in the world with the extinction of native and wild animals. And how shameful is that, especially with the size of our country? And so let's dig into that, Alessandra. But first, say hello. And I thought we could look at some of the issues, what the solution could be, by using our magical skills and talents. I'll hand it over to you.
Thank you so much for having me back again. It's a pleasure to be here.
Always.
But yeah, you're right. This is something that we're both very passionate about, and I think more witches and pagans are wanting to do more about this, and especially with this announcement of this ridiculous wind farm that has just been agreed to, and all the harm that it causes for so little benefit. It blows my mind. It's obviously just to line someone's pockets. It's got nothing to do with helping anybody. But I've had lots of people recently contacting me saying, is there anything that we can do magically? So it's perfect timing for this talk.
It is, darling. It absolutely is. And it's just like, for the life of me, I can't figure out why they don't tap into solar power. Why put a wind farm up when they could create a solar panel farm? And it might not look ugly, but the sun is there, and why not?
Yeah.
Why not? I just I get so frustrated because I can't. I just really struggle to understand, and I agree. Somebody's lining their pockets. It's really not about the good of all, and yeah, I'm going to try to hold back on the political stuff because one, I'm not well versed in it, but two, I have very definite opinions. I
Mhm.
better keep them to myself. So let's stick with the magic and how we can work with this to protect Mother Earth. And and I'm sure you're the same, when we talk about Mother Earth incorporates everything, the people, the creatures, the plants, every living thing. And I'm just going to pop this in to our conversation as it just jumped into my mind. Even with, if you're living in the city, to help reduce waste, start your own compost bin. And you think, well, what am I going to do with it? I don't have a garden, or I live in a unit. Use it for pot plants. Grow your own herbs and things on your veranda, or if you don't have a veranda outside in the sun, you must have a little bit of land, or throw it into other people's gardens, because what we're doing is giving back nourishment to Mother Earth, and we're reducing waste. Like, we have so much waste. That's a whole nother topic that I could talk about. So I
Mm,
just wanted to drop that in, Alessandra, because it just jumped into my mind. So
that's a great idea. And I've actually seen on Facebook that there are people who even sell it because, some people have little rooftop gardens and things like that. And so they actually purchase people's compost. So look into it.
absolutely, absolutely. And we're here to nourish Mother Earth. And as our population grows, the land becomes the fertile land, and the things that help us to breathe are disappearing, as
Mm,
in trees and plants. So the more plants, even if they're pot plants, just do it. It's not that hard. My daughter, living in a unit, was composting, and then not far down the road from where she was living, there was a block of units where a friend of hers lived that were trialing this big compost bin in their complex. So she used to
mm,
say to my daughter, bring it down and we'll add it to it. And that was another idea. And don't wait for things to happen for you. Take the bloody action and just do it, even if it's, you know, if you have a backyard. And I know that this may not be possible for everybody, but when I lived off the grid in the Hunter, going off on a tangent here, I knew I would. I always do. Rein me back in, Alessandra. Um, but I remember when, because we always had chickens, we had 40 acres and were quite self-sustainable off grid. I remember talking to this guy that grew chickens, I was going to say, I can't. But on a very small scale in his backyard. So because it was small and it wasn't done horribly, it was very ethical. I used to buy some chickens. I bought some chickens from him. And he used to go around to all the local schools in the Hunter and educate the kids on, if every household had one chicken, the reduction in land waste would be phenomenal. And at the same time, we would be fertilizing the land. So these are things to think about.
mm. And
Mm.
they make great pets too. I love them.
Oh, they're so cute. And I love silkies. I used to have an
Oh,
array. I didn't want just one. I had all these different ones that I just used to love, and they'd run around. And of course, I don't eat meat, but I had one that I used to call Roadrunner because she looked a bit prehistoric, and she
Oh,
had long legs, and she was apparently the Australian native eating chicken.
hmm.
I've never seen her before. Anyway, she was so sweet and funny. Not a great layer, but that I didn't care about that. I just loved them. Anyway, pull me back into
Oh.
topic.
No, sometimes the tangents are where the best ideas and the best conversations come from, I think.
So, what about you with some magic? Should we talk about protection magic, or if there's anything that comes to mind for you? How can we work to support our Mother Earth? And it always starts individually, doesn't it? And then it can ripple out into the wider collective. And it's about educating, sharing, talking, taking action.
Yes, absolutely. And yes, as you said, it starts with us. And when we're looking after ourselves, protecting ourselves and our own energy, then what we're putting out into the world and how we're influencing others and interacting with the plants, the trees, the animals, everything, it's all the cycle that raising our vibration helps all who come into contact with us. And starting in your own backyard, things like just getting to know the trees, the plants, the earth itself, sitting
Mm,
down and connecting with it. And like it's an exchange of energy, I think. Like we can work with a tree, for example, and just the same as oxygen and carbon dioxide, and how it takes what we don't need to give what we do need,
mm,
it does that with energy as well. And so by doing that, we're strengthening the plants, we're strengthening ourselves, we're building a relationship, and we can place protections on the individual plants, but it's not just that one tree or one plant that will benefit, because you can work with the spirit of eucalyptus or aloe vera or whatever it may be, working with the spirit of that plant and asking, for understanding, for people to see the beauty. And I think when people recognize the beauty and the use and start to appreciate, that is when they will protect it and not just walk around and ripping branches off trees and plants and cutting them down and littering. And there needs to be appreciation there. And so there are so many ways that we can work to create that protection without just going straight into placing a protection spell over particular things.
Oh, absolutely. And it is like sitting, connecting, talking to the trees or the plants and asking them, how can I be of service to you?
Mhm.
How can I help? And some of you are probably aware, I learned this many, many years ago when I was studying aromatherapy in the mid-90s and the early 90s, actually. And I'm sure there's updated information and I must look into this. But I was in this absolute wow factor, like it was just so magical for me to learn that trees, and I mean, I knew that they communicated with each other, but they do it through releasing chemicals. And it was once thought that they did it through their root system, and now it's that they actually release chemicals from the leaves, And so if a tree is being attacked, being cut down, whatever, it will release out chemicals, and it can go for, I was going to say miles, because I still speak in old terms sometimes, kilometers, and then the trees that it reaches will spread out. So they actually do communicate. So when we show them love,
Mm.
who's to say that that's not being communicated through them as well?
Yeah, absolutely. That's fascinating. I
Isn't
didn't
it?
know that myself.
Yeah, yeah. I have no doubt, like, this was what, over 30 years ago, so I have no doubt that this has been upgraded or updated, but there is definitely that chemical release where they can communicate, and look how many people now are tapping into the sound
Mm.
of plants and using it for sound therapy, like they sing. So it's very powerful. And as you said, it's not just, I mean, yes, we can do spells at home and, do protection magic like that. But I think the most important thing to start with is, one, look at our own relationship with plants.
Mhm.
And as you said, connect, be with them, sit with them, and honor them and talk to them and get to know what each of them like. When I actually have a horticultural background as well, and the difference between their leaves and growth, like there's with eucalypts, some eucalypts can start off with quite round, abundant, or heart-shaped, fat looking leaves, and as they mature they become long and slender. And then looking at their gum nuts and their flowers, and take notice of the environment and the seasons with them. And I really feel like education is a big key,
Mm.
talking to other people about our practices and how important this
Yes,
life, this life is, because it helps bring us life.
absolutely. Absolutely. I actually have felt very called to try and somehow speak to kids in schools about like developing compassion for animals and plants and connection and appreciation. Like, as you said, this earth sustains us. We
Absolutely.
need her. We need the plants. We need like all of it, but it's just taken for granted. And I think if we can educate children and help them to develop a love and appreciation,
Mm-hmm.
then they're going to grow up and teach their children, and so it spreads.
Yeah, I absolutely. And I've always had this thing where I feel that um as parents, like, education is important, because much of what we learn initially comes from the home environment.
Yes.
So parents need educating as well.
Yes.
And it's growing when I've lived in the country and rural and semi-rural, and out of the city, and even in the city, where you see mama and papa bears, and they're teaching their children to live on the land. They actually are educating them with this, and it's so important. And a lot of people for some time have been turning to homeschooling, so they can weave these aspects into their teaching.
Yes.
Because let's face it, we all know our children are indoctrinated at school, and the school system is just so out of date that it needs breaking down and rebuilding, which
Yeah.
is, let's hope this is what, looking at the astrological, the big one at the moment that's supporting us is through, or giving us the opportunity to break down the old patriarchal systems to rebuild. And we need a balance of the matriarchal and the patriarchal, new ways of being, and that's Pluto in Aquarius. That's all I'll say about that, because otherwise I'll completely turn into astrology conversation. So I want to give a couple of examples as well as, and I'm going to say it, I'm calling as it is, the absolute fucking ignorance of some people believing what you see. Like, I haven't watched news on TV or even free air-to-air TV in my own home for over 20 years. I never watch the news. I never have in my life. I've never read a newspaper. But I learned through talking to people that are aligned that are not caught up in the bullshit. So I'm always on social media because that's where I mainly run my business from. And I am an activist for animals, whether they're domesticated or they are wild or native. And wild, I'm referring to wild dogs and foxes and camels and cats and goodness knows what else the idiots previous to us have introduced to this country that shouldn't have been, however they are. But that doesn't mean that we have the right to abuse them. And I won't go into it, but the way our wild brumbies are being treated in Victoria, that, you know, those politicians need to be locked up. It's nothing less of cruelty. But let me get back to this post that I saw, and of course I couldn't help myself, but it was a page on quote, you know, taking care of animals and all, you know, and being environmentally conscious. And I have to question it. I actually left it because I knew I'd end up getting really disturbed by it. But this post that happened to come up for me was all about how wild cats kill 6 million native animals in Australia a day. And everybody's going, what, you know, and carrying on. And I went, hang on a minute. We don't have that many natives for the cats to kill. And I really, really want to put this out. The numbers that you see, the cats especially, that the wild birds and that they are killing is absolute lies. It is another way to get people. It's a distraction, whatever their agenda is behind it. It is lies. And I just want to come back to people taking responsibility for our Mother Earth and our creatures. Stop blaming the beautiful animals. It's not their fault. The fault comes from people's lack of respect and irresponsibly being pet owners.
Yes.
And this is one of our biggest issues. And I often think, oh, how can we stop this? The ignorance is almost beyond comprehension, Alissandra. And for me, it comes down to just speaking our truth, trying not to get upset like I do.
It's a hard though.
Yeah, I try to speak diplomatically and educating. What are your thoughts on this? Because this is part of what we're wanting to do, protecting Mother Earth and her creatures. And we have to stop listening to the lies, get into more critical thinking, use your own brains, do your research, and be kind. And I was going to pass this on to you, but I think if you see people dumping animals, if you see people abusing animals, report them. I tell people off in the street. I
Mhm.
don't care what they think of me. I'm knowing, you know, I've stood in Coles and Woolworths, not that I like to shop in them, and actually talk to people at the egg section and convince people to buy non-caged eggs with the least amount of chickens on the land available.
That's fantastic. Good on you. But that's what we need. You know, people need to know. And like the other day, there was a man actually walking past, and his dog was just playing. It got off the lead or slipped its collar, and it was playing and having fun. And he was getting really angry and aggressive and grabbed the dog and pushed it down. And oh, I lost it. I lost it. I was screaming like a banshee at this man, and he's like, mind your own business. It's not your effing dog. It's like, it is my business. Like, we all need to come together and stand up for those who don't have a voice. Like, just because we're human, we're not better than them.
No, absolutely not. And I shout that out really loud. I'm 100% with you because we're all one, we're all connected.
Yes.
And it is your fucking business because they're doing it outside your place and it's a disturbance to you. It's stressful. Most of us, I would like to think, do not like to see any
Mm.
creature or plant or tree harmed intentionally. It
No.
affects us on a cellular level.
Oh, yeah.
And I am going to call people on it and say, shame on you if you can walk by and ignore this kind of
Mhm.
stuff, because you are part of the problem if you're not stepping up.
Yeah.
And yes, you have to be careful. There are some people that are violent. So
Mm.
take note of what they're dressed in. Take note of the dog. Take a mental note. Report them to the police or to the animal associations, and let them deal with it. That you don't have to go up and actually, you know, connect with them if you don't feel safe enough to. I know who I can pick my battles with and not,
Mm.
and I'm sure you do too, Alexandra, because we've got that sense and knowing, and that many people do. But if you can't, then take a bloody photo and send it in to your local police station. Or rescue animals, because many people that own animals should not.
Mhm.
So, any last words on this? That was a bit more of like you may have expected for us to go into spell crafting and magic, but this is part of our magic, is being advocates for, you know, all of the living things that need support that are absolutely being abused by the human race. And
Yes.
that's sky and water, not just on the land. I mean, I'm just going to pop this in too, because we'll wrap up in a couple of minutes. But I was devastated to learn when I went to a TED talk and listened to a local astronomer here in the Blue Mountains talk about how much there's so many satellites going up. It was predicted 10,000 in the next 12 months, I think it was, and that every year we're losing 10% of the sight of our stars because of the light from the satellites. Like, what the fuck is going on with this earth? I could go on about this for ages, but um yeah, any last words, Alessandra?
Look, as you said, it is our responsibility. We do need to look after all creatures, great and small. And that's something that I very firmly believe in, that as witches, healers, priestesses, we're custodians. We are all one.
Mm,
And I believe that it is our job to protect, to educate, to care, and to spread love. And it
mm,
is all part of the magic. Everything we do, every choice we make, every word we speak is weaving our magic. So don't just think that magic is only spellcraft and candles and dancing around a cauldron. It's everything. It is how you live your life.
Yes. And the spells and the dancing around the cauldron are fucking fabulous, by
Oh,
the way.
yes. Yeah.
And they're so fun. But life is magic. We are the magic. And as you said, and it's one of my favorite sayings, our thoughts, feelings, and words are our wand. And we know that it's energy, and energy becomes matter, and then matter actualizes. So be mindful of your words, your actions, your thoughts. And perhaps this is something, and I love to do it, and I'm grateful to be living in the Blue Mountains where I have the opportunities to do this, is if or when I go for a bushwalk, one of the things I love to do is walk, and I just hold my arms out, and with my fingertips I love to touch the plants and the trees, and I just say hello, thank you, and it's just so beautiful, and I love it. And for me, that's a beautiful connection. So if you have a pot plant, if you have a flower garden, if you have tree or trees in your backyard, or you are growing your own vegetables, love them up. If you have a beautiful animal, pet, a cat, a horse, chickens, dogs, rats, lizards, whatever, mice, whatever they are, love them up. Don't abuse them, and don't expect our environment or our creatures to adapt to what we desire. We must adapt and live as one with them. On that note, beautiful Alissandra, thank you for being here with me, and I'm looking forward to our next chat, and we're going to talk about women rising unapologetically in this patriarchal society. So we'll see you again on another podcast chat. Thank you so, so much for being here.
Thank you.
Bye for now. Thank you for joining us on the enchanting journey through the realms of magic, mystique, and self-discovery. I hope you enjoyed our time together on the Rich Witch podcast, where we delve into the depths of witchcraft, astrology, and the unapologetic rise of women. Please subscribe, rate, and leave a review. And as we wrap up, I encourage you to carry the wisdom and magic we've shared into your own life. Embrace the power within you and revel in the beauty of your own unique journey. Stay tuned for more magic, and in the meantime, stay curious and know your magic is a gift to the world. Blessed be, beautiful ones, and remember, the magic is always within you. This is Julie Nelson, signing off.